Dr. Booker, thank you so much for joining us. Today we'll be asking some questions to better understand the courses you teach, the investigations you conduct, and the thesis projects you supervise with fourth-year honors specialization students. Could you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. So, I'm Dr. Christina Booker. I teach a lot of first-year chemistry courses and integrated science courses here at Western. I'm a teaching scholar and assistant prof in chemistry, and then I also teach in the Western Integrated Science program. So, I've been teaching first-year chemistry for about 8 years at Western. I started part-time and then also working as an educational developer at Western Center for Teaching and Learning, working with graduate students and faculty on how to teach their courses. And I've been in my full-time faculty role here for about 3 years. So I did my PhD here at Western in analytical chemistry, looking at proteins and bio-oils and designing techniques to be able to separate and identify those important analytes. So I've always enjoyed teaching and working with students, helping them to understand challenging concepts. And so even before I was a professor here, I taught in different areas, such as piano. So I really enjoyed playing the piano, and I taught students how to play and ran music programs. And then I also taught swimming lessons. So I worked as a lifeguard and a camp counselor at a Bible camp up in Northern Ontario and some pools. And so I've always enjoyed teaching, so that aspect of my job I really enjoy.
That sounds really cool. Could you tell us a little bit more about what you're briefly currently investigating on?
Sure. So my new research area involves looking at how STEM students, so science, technology, engineering, and math, learn. And so what I'm really interested this year is looking at team-based problem solving in first-year chemistry. So getting students to problem solve together, review concepts, teach one another in a module-directed learning format. So sometimes in really large classes, it can be somewhat isolating, and learning chemistry can be really challenging at times. So we're investigating ways to get students engaged with chemistry, strengthen their problem-solving skills, and build some community along the way. Another one of my projects is looking at women in STEM and looking at career aspirations and mentorship and concepts like STEM identity or sense of belonging. So I want to investigate what's going on and how this can be improved to help everyone, especially women and minorities and underrepresented groups, feel like they belong and can contribute to STEM at Western.
What are some methods you commonly use in your research, and what does a day in doing your type of research would look like?
Great. So my research is a little bit different, well, quite a bit different than a lab-based chemistry research. So I'm looking more at how students learn. And so that involves designing new activities or methods or approaches for students to explore chemistry concepts, and then get student perspectives and some measurements on their learning. So surveys. So if you took first year chemistry this year, you might have heard an advertisement for a research study that we're doing. So students can do a pre-survey and post-survey and give us some of their feedback and perceptions on their learning. We can also do intergroup interviews and focus groups and a variety of different methods when you research with people.
So what are some courses you teach here?
So I teach first year chemistry. So for the past few years I've taught Chem 1301A and 1302B. So those are required courses for a lot of programs at Western. I also teach in integrated science. So I teach an evolution of the scientific process, looking at how science has developed, and students develop scientific literacy skills. So they write essays and do poster presentations. I also teach a third year Science in Your Community course, which is a lot of fun. Students work on community engaged learning projects and work with an organization in London, applying some of their scientific skills to help a community problem. So in this course, students also explore scientific misconceptions and learn about how to communicate scientific ideas outside of the scientific community, so to our general communities. I also teach a peer mentorship and leadership course here at Western, and that's a lot of fun. Students do seminars on great or terrible scientific leaders and analyze those qualities. And we've also started a mentorship network in the integrated science program where upper years mentor lower year students, and so we have some mentorship activities and events, and then the upper year students write reflections and discuss their mentorship and some of their training along the way. In the past, I've also taught some environmental science and chemistry of the environment courses. So quite a breadth.
That sounds very interesting. Could you describe or give examples of the type of work that an honor specialization would do with you?
Great. So this term, I have a fourth year thesis student in chemistry, and she's working with me on this team-based problem solving plan. And so she actually developed one of the team-based problem solving modules that first year chemistry students are doing. So she looked at the concepts, looked at some of the literature on how students are learning, and developed an interactive module where students are able to see how the concepts they're learning apply outside of our chemistry course. And then she's also analyzing some student surveys and running focus groups to learn about students' experiences with these activities.
So if there's one thing you could tell students looking to excel in your classes, what would you say?
So for first year chemistry, I think the number one thing I would say is to stay on top of your practice problems. So chemistry is a cumulative subject, so you have to understand one concept before you understand the next concept. And it's not a spectator sport. So it's really easy to nod along in class and be like, yeah, I got it. But it's a lot more challenging when you approach a new problem and have to figure out where to start on your own. So I really encourage students to do those practice problems, do them regularly, multiple times a week, so that they're building those problem-solving skills and identifying any challenging concepts along the way. And then that's your opportunity to reach out and ask questions and not be surprised at the end if you don't understand a particular concept. So definitely stay on top of those practice problems.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. So what are the top 3 things you look for in a prospective thesis student?
So the top things I would look for, probably the first is their passion for the subject area. So I want someone who's really interested in science education, excited to make a difference, has some creativity and some energy to put into that project. The second item I'd be looking for is communication. So written communication skills and verbal communication skills. When we teach, we need to be able to convey ideas clearly. And in scientific research, it's really important to be able to communicate your ideas. You might have something amazing that you've done, but if you can't communicate it to the public or to the scientific community, there's that disconnect there. So I definitely look for communication skills. Then the third thing would be diligence. So a student who's willing to put in the work, who's organized, stays on top of those deadlines and submissions, attention to detail. So some of those work ethic items I'd be looking for.
That's really cool. So next would be, what is your favorite part about your research and what is the thing that makes it the most difficult?
The favorite part about my research is hopefully making a difference in students' learning experience here at Western. So I want students to see how chemistry is relevant to their lives, how it relates to their programs and futures outside of chemistry, and to recognize that they can be successful in chemistry. So I want students to really help them to achieve their goals.
And what makes your research different from other research done in, for example, like a lab setting?
Right. So my research at this point is focusing more on people. So learning about their experiences, their perspectives, some of the outcomes of their learning, so a grade or a way that they approach a problem. So rather than, at this point, mixing something in a lab to develop a new compound, I'm looking at how students interact with one another and how they interact with their learning tools. Then when I think about women in STEM and STEM identity, I'm also looking at mentorship. And so I've started an integrated science mentorship program, and I'm leading a mentorship program between graduate students and undergraduate students here in the Faculty of Science. And so my next step would be to research the impact of these programs and see how that's impacting STEM identity and interest in persisting in STEM careers and education in the future.
And so my final questions for you are, what is your favorite coffee and what is your favorite go-to meal after a day of work?
So I definitely have a little Keurig now in my office, and it is delightful. There are definitely days that require 2 coffees, and on Saturday I add a little splash of vanilla in my coffee. So that's enjoyable. Otherwise I'm not too particular, but a pumpkin spice latte is probably my favorite, but I only drink 1 or 2 a year. For after work meals, I'm an expert at anything that can be done in less than 20 minutes. I have 2 kids and a husband and a new puppy at home, so fast and easy is really good. But probably my favorite is taco salad. It's delicious.
Wow, that sounds really good. And so thank you, Dr. Booker, so much for your time and your invaluable insights.
Well, thanks for coming. It was great to be here.